Why, hello, everyone. This is a thing. We're here.
Look at that.
It's
Look at that.
10 p.m. We have a paused fireplace tonight.
Mm-hmm. But we have an active burger time in the background.
That's true. An active burger time. An active burger time.
So
This is great. That sets up the interview well. That's your shit.
That's right.
You hold all the records on there right now.
I have 4 out of the top 5. I got to get that motherfucker Ken off of there. I'll get him.
Wait, what number is that?
Ken, he's the 5th one now, but I've been knocking him down. He had like the
So you just keep moving up to
something.
push him down.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Got to do that.
Gotcha. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's Wednesday. It's the thing. It's
Hump
Honesty
day.
Hour. We're gonna be doing.
Hump.
We're gonna be doing this thing. So, as you guys have seen a couple weeks here now, we'll casually say, hey, what's up? And then we'll start the kind of podcast portion that's nice and clean. And just a reminder, we do have a podcast channel now. It's on the SoundCloud and stuff. Well, there'll be a little ad roll across the bottom of the screen to remind you halfway through the show. You have a show up on our podcast
I have a
network.
show. I got to get other episodes up there.
Shit, dude.
I know.
Every week, right?
That's the
For
goal.
8 years.
10.
10 years.
10 years.
Oh, I talked to Lucas the other day. I was like, wait, are they already behind a couple episodes?
Oh, we're behind 2 months.
I was like, oh, it's going to be a long 10 years.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The goal is once I get my life in order to do 2 a week. Keller and I watch 2 movies a week and get 2 out until we're caught up. But
cool.
So far I am sitting on the rest of January. I need to edit them and put them out. And then I need to go and do February and then we're in March. So I'm not that far behind. That's still 4 movies. 3 to edit, put up, and then 4 movies to watch, and then I'll be on schedule, but it's going to take forever to catch up.
Cool. All right, well...
10 years.
So the way this is going to work, everybody, is I'm basically going to interview Hector. You can field questions in the chat, and oh, look, it's Jessica Marzipan.
Jessica Marzipan!
What's up? How you feeling? Hope you're feeling better.
She's good people.
Oh, and I'm going to be up in Seattle next week for ECCC. Jess,
Shit.
so we'll probably see you around. Bringing Iffy up with me and Amy.
Can you do me a favor?
What's up?
Can you buy me Invincible action figures?
At ECCC?
Did you see that they announced those?
No, I did not.
Invincible, Skybound Image action figures.
Okay.
There's one of Invincible, and then there's one where he's covered in blood.
You need to send me a text so I don't forget.
I'll send you,
and
I'll
we'll totally get that done.
And yes, in.
Yeah, we'll get that done. I wish I had contacts at Image. We don't have any contacts at Image, do we?
That's ridiculous. I don't think so.
We got everywhere else.
No
one at Image.
Everywhere else. Marvel, we'll call them up. Disney, we'll call them up.
Disney?
Lucasfilm, we'll call them up.
Actually, we actually do have some pretty good contacts. And they're always like, no, leave us alone. Ah, shit.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, wait, what are you doing on Friday nights? Nothing. No, there's no...
Star Trek.
Yeah. So once the podcast part starts, I gotta clear my mouth out tonight. I'm tired. Basically, this is now more of a podcast where I'm going to interview Hector. You can ask questions in the chat room, but mainly in Discord. Subscribers will get kind of first call. As we're talking in the conversation, if you want to contribute things in the chat room that pertain to what we're currently talking about, I'll pull some stuff out there and field those things to Hector. But sub sounds and donations will be turned off until the end of the episode. To the end of the episode. And at the end of the episode, forever how many subscribers we get during the episode, we will dance at the very end. I forgot to tell you about that part.
Yeah. Jessica Marzipan said that she's on her phone. Otherwise, she would sub again now.
Oh, well...
So,
you're
it's
the
all
best.
Good. You're the bee's knees.
Thank you. So we will dance at the very end of the episode if you subscribe, and we'll announce and say thanks to everybody and all that good stuff. So if you're ready, we can hang out for a couple hours.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, what's up, everybody? I am here with. Oh my God, Randomness is Key just showed up. I'm seeing people in the chat I haven't seen in so long, and I just interrupted. I know, I'm just interrupting my own intro to the podcast, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Nobody listens to these things anyway. So welcome, everyone. I am here with Hector Navarro, wonderful host here on the channel, who's also a host on DC All Access, Geek and Sundry, Alpha. Are you still on Screen Junkies as well? Screen Junkies, Collider, Nickelodeon Podcast. Is there anything else I'm missing?
I don't think so. I think you got everything.
That everything?
That's great.
Oh, sweet.
You really do care, Zach.
I do. I follow all you guys' stuff.
You're the best.
Follow you guys' stuff. So how you doing, Hector?
Good. Tired, but I'm doing really good.
No. Out of everyone I know, you're one of the busiest between all of the... How much time do you spend in your car every day? This is something I've been thinking about a lot. How much time do you spend in your car?
Thankfully, I now live in the valley, a.k.a. Over the hill, a.k.a. in Sherman Oaks is where I live. I used to live in...
Cool. What's your address?
Nope. I used to live in Burbank. And when I first moved to LA and lived in Burbank, I had a job in Burbank, like a few blocks away. Mm-hmm. In fact, pretty close to Geek and Sundry. But I didn't know Geek and Sundry existed. I don't even know if it existed at the time. It probably didn't.
Yeah.
But Nerdist, I think, was there. So I started working there. And then I quit that job to go get a job at a at a voice acting agency down in Hollywood, like near Beverly Hills area.
I remember that.
So I was commuting from Burbank to down there. I think during that time,
and then you moved down there.
I would come and hang out. I moved down there, but I would come and hang out and do stuff at Socialtron Live. Socialtron.
Yeah,
and hang out at your place on the weekends.
For a while now.
I know. I try not to think about it too much.
Yeah.
And then I moved down there to work there, and then I ended up not doing that and doing more stuff like this over the hill up in Burbank and everything. So then I was commuting then. But right now, thankfully, most of my jobs are on the same side of the mountain. So I only twice a week have to do the commute where it's like a 30 to a 40 minute to just get down into the Beverly Hills area. Are you still doing
improv shows?
No.
So you've kind of cut back on improv?
I have.
Wait, what happened to Count Gumdrop? For those that don't know, Hector was in
Count
an improv group.
Oh, the most epic.
It was pretty good. Not gonna lie,
group. Thanks, man. It was super fun. Everybody just got busy with stuff. A couple of our members took some time first before the rest of us kind of decided, like, let's hold for now, and then we can maybe reunite soon later whenever we want. I had a buddy on the team who was like, I'm gonna focus on music. He was making music and putting out CDs and focusing on that, and he's really fucking good. Everybody that's on that team is really super fucking talented. And so everybody just kind of got busy with stuff. And I got busy with stuff.
I originally met you through improv communities.
Yep.
How long have you been doing improv? Because now you're doing a lot of hosting.
Sure.
But when I first met, it was like, you're an improv guy. You did improv.
Did I ever tell you about this story? Did I ever talk to you about this?
I don't know. You know what's funny is...
Yeah, maybe, and we just forgot?
Well, I don't know, because here's how our friendship works, Hector.
Yeah.
Anytime we're hanging out, we talk about comic books.
Uh-huh.
There was a time where we were both single and we would just talk about how much that sucked.
Yeah, that was great times. That was great times.
That was all we talked about.
That was great times.
So it was either shit being single sucks or comic books.
Uh-huh.
I know very little about you outside of that. And neither does the chat room. Because I was actually thinking about this today. I was like, everyone knows what you like.
And you said that very accurately. You're like, I wear my passions on my sleeve. So everybody knows what I like, but
don't really know much more about you.
Yeah, improv was one of my first loves, and I started by accident. I didn't really want to be an actor as a kid, but I liked making my parents laugh. I am the oldest of two kids. I have a younger sister, and my parents. I don't do stand-up. I tried it once and I didn't like it. I mean, I thought it was okay, and I was like, I feel like I could have a good time with stand-up. I could learn a lot. It's a great writing tool. It's a great performance tool. But once you do improv, improv is just so collaborative and fun, and there's nothing better than finding an amazing thing, and you've seen it by being a producer of live content.
Oh, yeah.
When a group of people get that hive mind and they find an amazing thing, that's more addictive than crack, I imagine. More addictive than cocaine, more addictive than anything. And
I want to, at some point in my life,
try crack?
Well, no.
Just to try it.
Just to
see what it's like.
To experience the kind of synergy that Heather and Miles have.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's watching that kind of shit on stage.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I want to know what that's like at some point in my life.
Yeah.
It's like how some people imagine when they've never experienced love and they see two people look at each other in a certain way. When I go watch Heather and Miles on stage, I'm like, I don't even fucking know.
It's magic, dude.
It is magic.
It is magic, but it's the same as seeing animation. You look at the documentary like Brad Bird and his filmmaking career. When he was little, he said that you kind of understand how animation works. You kind of understand that it's single drawings that are then filmed in succession to create the illusion of movement. but you still don't know how it works. So you see Heather and Miles, and you're like, I kind of could understand how two people could get to this point. I kind of I understand what they're doing, but I also at the same time have no idea how they did it.
Oh yeah,
but you understand the fundamentals.
Watching someone perform in a professional sport, and you see certain things happen, and you get that it's possible, but it's still it's completely.
Marzipan, just subscribe. Mwah.
We'll dance for you at the end.
We'll dance
Jessica.
for
Thank
you,
for that. And
Jessica.
I'm seeing like Cool Tennis Pro showed up too. There's a lot of old names popping up in the chat that are really great to see.
So I started improv. So when I was a kid, I just liked making my parents laugh, because if there was like tension in the house, my parents are now happily divorced. But it wasn't like a.
You said that with a.
Yeah, they're fine. They're happy.
Yeah.
But they're not married, and it wasn't like a bad childhood by any means. I had a great childhood. It wasn't like yelling or any kind of abuse or anything. But there would be like tension sometimes. There would be like family like tension, and I remember being able to cut through that like a knife with a joke or a humorous thing. When I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, being a goofball, doing something funny, and I would be able to be the mediator between my sister and my parents. My parents would be frustrated, and then my sister would be frustrated, and I'd be like, "Here's what my sister means, and then here's what mom and dad mean." Like I would be the mediator.
You still do that, and
I do
everything
that.
I've seen you on. You play mother hen in every situation.
Because I'm not a middle child, but kind of the middle. That's the role that
makes so much
happened
sense
in
to
the
me now
family
that I know
dynamic.
that.
Yes,
that makes so much sense.
Yes. So that helps with like, from a young age, I felt like I had good communication skills. Why? Because that was my role. Because that was what I ended up doing in my family. And so I never really wanted to be an actor, but I liked being funny, and I loved cartoons, and I did impressions of cartoons, and one time I made a girl cry, which is really funny. I'll tell you that story in a second.
Wait.
I'll tell you that story in a second.
I made a girl cry. It was really funny.
It was really funny.
Oh, man.
It's a pivotal moment in Hector's life. But when I was in 6th grade, I think it may have been 5th grade. The point is, 5th or 6th grade, my best friend, Tyler Burke, was a kid just like me, a new kid in this new neighborhood. That was
Tyler Burke, look him up on Facebook.
Oh, don't do that.
You can.
Don't do it.
No, we drop names every week on this show apparently. So we'll get some new Facebook friends.
Burke, spelled Jeqxt, Burke. So go look him up. He was a ham. He was the class clown, and I wasn't the class clown, but I made him laugh. So we had this really fun childhood friendship. And he was the new kid, and I was the new kid, so we were like, I guess we're going to be best friends, because we were the new kids in this like kind of hoity-toity area. We both came from middle to lower class areas, and we moved to a middle to upper class area, and became best friends. Tyler was like, I signed up for an acting class. This was in San Diego. I signed up for an acting class down at the La Jolla Playhouse. You should do it with me. And I'm his best friend, and I'm in 6th grade, and I was like, I don't know. And then he convinced me. I'm like, all right. So either my mom or his mom would drive us once a week to take this acting class, which was the most like fun, whatever. Like I don't remember a single thing from it except for this. At one point we had an assignment where they're like, you have to prepare something. I don't even remember what the assignment was, but the next week, Tyler and I were sitting in class, and when they're like, okay, guys, it's time to present your assignment, your performance that you prepared, we looked at each other like, oh shit, we forgot and didn't do it. We didn't do anything for the last week other than like play with Star Wars toys and like be 12. So when it was our turn...
That's why I didn't have girlfriends when I was 12 either.
Exactly, because you had to play with them Star Wars toys. But then Tyler did get a girlfriend, and I was like, bye forever.
Like, just go play with Leia over in the corner by myself.
See you later. So it gets to our time to perform. And we went up, and I think as we were walking up, maybe we were like, okay, let's just like fight each other. Okay, we're just going to fight each other. So we like whispered that to each other. So we got up and we pulled 2 chairs on each end of it's not stage, but side of the little like room where girls do ballet. It was like a dance room / room for chairs in a class at the La Jolla Playhouse. And we just started pantomiming having a war with each other. So we moved the chairs, and we started pantomiming like muskets and like shooting muskets at each other and like throwing grenades. And I think we had like machine guns. And then at one point we threw the guns away, invisible guns, and we started running towards each other. But then it was this moment of Heather and Miles, like we synced up because we were best friends. We hung out all the time. We knew what we were going to do before we did it. We looked at each other in the eye as we were running, and we just at the same time started going in slow motion because we were just playing.
Yeah.
And so we started to slow motion run at each other and just beat the shit out of each other in slow motion, just like with like knives and then we like killed each other and died. And we made it up. And the kids, the other people in the class, if they were younger or older, I don't really remember, like they loved it. And the teacher was like, you guys just did improv. Like the teacher saw through our bullshit and I think she knew that like we didn't prepare anything. But she was like, you guys just did improv. And we were like, what's that? And she was like, improv comedy. It's what you guys just did, and you did a great job, and like go look into it.
I feel like that whole scene you just described is something that would happen at a bad like 101 improv.
Right, but when you're 12?
But I mean finishing it off with,
what's that? Oh yeah,
you just did improv.
You just did improv.
What's that?
That is how it would a 101 show would end. You've seen probably a bunch of 101 shows.
I've seen way too many, dude. So many bad ones.
So then the next year in 7th grade, I think, Tyler wasn't as interested, but I looked up improv classes and took a class from a guy who basically like taught like zip, zop, zap. And I convinced another group of friends at the time, because we went from elementary to middle school. So of course, all of your groups of friends are totally different. Like Tyler and I like knew each other, but he's like a cool kid. And then I had this other crew of like nerdy dudes. And I convinced them, you guys, improv is the coolest thing. I did it last year by accident. You have to come do it with me. And they were like, okay. And then we signed up for an improv class, and it was super fun. And we put on shows, and it was super fun. And then it turned into doing improv in high school. When we went to high school, we found out that there was an improv team, except that the only way you could be a part of it was you had to sign up for drama, like Drama 101, because it was the same teacher. So
so the high school itself had an improv team?
Which is unheard of.
That's really strange.
But this specific drama teacher reached out and found a high school league. There was already a high school league from the improv like school / theater in San Diego that was called the National Comedy. There was already a high school league, but he wasn't a part of that because he didn't know. So like he knew somebody from LA. So what he did, this high school in San Diego, this teacher knew a guy in LA who was also teaching improv. I think out of, I want to say Comedy Sports LA. Which is like near UCLA. Mm-hmm. So he found this guy and was like, I'll pay you whatever your guys' rate is to drive down 2 hours and teach improv at this high school like once a month, and we'll put on a show once a month or whatever, right? And we'll just have practices the rest of the weeks without you. Or maybe he came down once a week, I don't know. But there was there's like a really fluke, rare setup. So me and my friends started doing improv, and it's addictive, and we fucking loved it. That year that we joined, we were freshmen. All of the other improv guys were seniors, and the drama teacher loved them. He did not like any of my friends at all. So at the end of that year, he's like, okay, guys, I'm not going to continue the improv class / team. And we were like, what are we going to do for the next 3 years, dude? We were banking on this. None of us are athletes. Like, what are you doing?
We just gave our entire futures up for this idea, bro.
Come on. And so my buddy Gabe like did his own research and was like, I found the spot in San Diego that will let us join the high school league. So we just ended up joining NCT. We ended up joining that whole thing. And through our own, mostly Gabe's planning, he's an incredible entrepreneur and a really driven guy and really smart guy, really talented. Found the organization to team up with. We put on shows, and we would charge $5 at the door. And with that money,
fucking charge for improv shows?
$5 at the door. And remember, this is
I wouldn't have given you
this
$5.
is like suburbia. There was nothing to do for these high school kids. We were like, we killed it. Like we packed a theater full of high school kids, and they were all of the jocks.
Man, I bet coming up to LA was a disappointment.
And the cheerleaders. No, it was much better. All these cool kids who like thought we were super funny and edgy and like really liked our dumb little shows, they paid us $5 at the door. We would use that money to pay for our entry into the high school league, and then with the rest of the money, this is my high school experience, and I cherish it so much. I had such a great high school experience, even though I literally got gum spit in my hair and somebody kicked me in my ass while I was walking. Like, I got that level of stupid high school bully crap.
Yeah, me too.
I still had such a good time because we would put on a show on a Tuesday night, and because I was such a goody two-shoes, I could tell my parents, like, don't wait up. I'm going to be out all night, because we would do the show from like 8 to 10 or something. 10 o'clock, the show would be done. You know, people would dig it. Other high schools would come too, and because that's how the high school league worked. We would go. One time we went to Mira Mesa and we demolished them, but the rule is that the home team always had to win. Except when we went to Mira Mesa, we crushed them and we were super funny. And the high school team there, God bless them, they were really nice, and there were people that were in the audience like there to make fun of them. They were there to like rag on them. And me and my friends were like, dude, what the fuck? Like, this is so fucked up that these guys are here to rag on these like nice these kids like us that like want to do comedy, and they're super cheesy and funny. And then we would start cracking certain jokes that would make them genuinely laugh. That they were like, good job. This sounds really braggadocious, but the point of the story was that at the end, we were like me and my friends were like, good game, guys, good game. That was super fun. We already were gonna go and have a good time and drive back to San Diego, from Mira Mesa. It was like an hour and a half. It was like an hour drive. As they're announcing and the winner for tonight, and they were like, Eastlake High School, and we were like, what? We won. We were not supposed to win. This was supposed to be a fixed thing where the home team always won. But for some reason, the ref or the, whatever, they're like, no, you guys won. And the home team was super nice. They're like, you guys are so great.
Even the adults were like, no, our kids suck. Just take the damn trophy.
It got to that point. But when we would put on shows at our high school, we'd put them on a Tuesday night. It'd be over at 10. We would take all that money from like 100 kids, like maybe like 80 kids, somewhere in there. Again, $5 a pop. And we would go to Denny's and hang out till 3 a.m. and just be like, we'll get everything on the menu. Like, we were just like, oh God, like it was awesome. We didn't go out drinking.
That sounds great.
But essentially
right now.
we got drinking. It sounds great right now.
To have enough money to be like, yo, I'm just gonna go to Denny's
and just not even worry about it.
Not even fucking
But it was like a group of like 16 dudes, like me and my friends.
That's great.
Could go to Denny's and like we're like kings. We lived like kings, and it was amazing. So that was my high school improv experience. That's not really the type of improv that we're used to. It was short form. It was like, whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
When I moved to LA for work, I found the improv theaters up here and started to see and do long form improv and started to take classes. And I was like, this shit's fucking amazing. Yeah. And then from there.
Now it's funny, they're saying in the chat room that the audio is wonky, and then somebody says they always know. That's not true on Honesty Hour. I'm the only person here. So.
Is it this?
I don't know.
Is this better?
I don't know.
I mean, just do this.
I could ask Alex to go put headphones on and see if he thinks that it sounds okay. I'm the only person here, so I actually have no idea.
You guys need to tell us.
I have no idea.
Interrupt me next time, Zach. I was on a roll.
No, you're good, man. I didn't know. They just said it.
Silly Sonny says, that was my stoner times. One of everything at Denny's at 3 a.m. That's what I'm talking about. But I did that in high school without the drunk. Was that better? Yeah. Is that better?
Oh, they're all saying it's fine.
Okay.
Maybe it was just muffled. I don't know.
Because it got caught in my
good, man.
clavicle.
I feel like I could have really benefited from having something like that in my high school experience. There weren't enough people. There's no way it would have ever happened.
For sure.
But that kind of sounds way more fun than me trying to let my parents forcing me into sports and me hating every minute of it.
I know, man.
I really would have been great. It would have been great. But
it was cool. It was community. It was like me and my nerdy friends would just sit around and
you're still getting the valuable teamwork.
For sure. And communication skills and confidence on stage. When you're in high school, when you're in middle school, and you are so freaked out, but you go up there anyway because it's your friends, and you bomb and everything's okay, or you make an audience laugh, and it's an audience of kids your own age and then parents, and you make them laugh by doing like an impression or it's the best. And when I was a kid, I learned that people's number one fear was public speaking, and number two was death. And I still think about that to this day because I'm like, that's so fucked up. That's ridiculous. I am of course more afraid of dying than I am of public speaking, and it gives you a sense of confidence and to know that if you bomb, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's the same as knowing in high school if you get a C, it's not the end of the world, which is what I had to go through because I was such a goody two shoes. I got straight A's up until 8th, 9th grade, and I was all of a sudden getting C's, and my world was like, what? But then I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. That lesson of it's okay. You put too much pressure on yourselves, or parents put too much pressure on their kids to have a kid go up on stage and do a joke and it fall flat, but still afterwards have your friends be like, dude, that was awesome, man. Like it didn't work, but let's go to fucking Denny's. Let's go. That's great. Yeah. That's great.
That's really awesome, man. So how many people on your high school group ended up being people that were on Count Gumdrop? Because some of them were from San Diego.
Some of them were. When I went to in between high school and moving to LA, I went to college in San Diego.
So you stayed in town
college.
Okay.
I did. First I went to UC Irvine for like a half a second, which is an hour and a half north. Irvine's between LA and San Diego. And I went to UCI. Go Anteaters. Zot, zot, zot.
Wait, what? Anteaters?
Anteaters.
That's great.
Because I got accepted, and I got accepted into the arts program, and I was going to get a degree in arts, fine arts study.
Right, because I was going to bring that up. Like you, even though you've been doing improv a long time, you also wanted to be an animator, right?
Sure, absolutely. I wanted to work in animation. A part of me still does, and a part of me is like, no, I think I wanted to just tell stories. And I think there's a part of me that still wants to be a producer more than anything, more than a writer or director.
I mean, an animator in so many ways is not your personality.
Sure.
You know, like I mean, you know what they are.
I tried it because I went to animation school. So UC Irvine, I was there, and I was like, I don't want to study art. I want to do art. I would go and look at a painting and go into a class and learn a bunch of cool stuff. But I'm like, I think this is great. I would just go back to my dorm room and watch Batman the Animated Series on DVD, and I would lock myself in there, and I would just,
Malika and I are watching again right now. That's what we're falling asleep to.
Batman the
Animated
Animated Series?
Oh yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. It's on Amazon Prime right now. So we've been like,
donation sounds are off. We're gonna dance at the end, y'all.
That's right.
So UC Irvine wasn't working for me. My girlfriend at the time was going to UCLA, and then she transferred to UC San Diego to move back home. She's like, I want to do this thing in San Diego. So when she was there, I was commuting from UC Irvine to San Diego like every weekend. It was like I wasn't even at that school. I also tried out for the improv team, did not make it. And the two coaches there have become hugely successful improvisers in LA after they graduated UC Irvine.
No way.
And I see them and they're in shows and I'm like rooting for them. But I remember when I auditioned, they didn't take me and I was like, I wasn't good. I wasn't ready.
Can you say their names so we can look them up on Facebook?
No, I'm not going to do that. God, I forgot one of the guys' names, but the woman is, I'll tell you after, whatever. But she's in like commercials and stuff, and she was doing UCB, and I'm like, I think I even told her too. I was like, you were at UC Irvine, and she's like, oh yeah, like being really nice, like did not fucking remember me at all. And I was like, I didn't make it. I was really sucky. Well, see you later. And then like walked away. I am watching Clone Wars before it's taken down off of Netflix next month. Oh no!
We're not going to get distracted by Star Wars. Not going to get distracted by Star Wars.
I'm at UC Irvine, and I'm like, I'd rather do cartoons. Found out that there was an animation school in San Diego that, without even looking at my portfolio, would have accepted me with my tuition. I wonder why. But they, I explained what type of person I was, and they're like, you'd be perfect at this school. And I went, and it was a 3-year program, and I got my degree in animation, and I learned about it, and I focused on it. And it's a tough life. It is sitting at your desk or computer for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I took a class. It was an illustration class where it was just like draw.
12 if you're lucky.
What's that?
12 if you got a good job.
12 if you have like a steady paying gig.
And one that treats you right.
No kid. It's rough, man.
Yeah.
And I also got a taste of that when I graduated college and did like visual effects jobs in San Diego and LA. And that's when I kind of, left from that to go try other stuff. But I took an illustration class in college, and I did a drawing of a jacket, and my teacher was like, this is a great, because I've been drawing since I was a kid. I like to draw, and I think I'm pretty good at it. And the teacher was like, this is a fantastic jacket. You could be an illustrator. You could have a career in this. And before I could answer her, she goes, but I don't think you're the type of person that could sit at a desk for 8 hours a day drawing jackets.
I don't either.
And I was like, you're right, lady. Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. I want to work on cartoons, and I want to, tell stories and work with people. Yeah, like, animation's like solitary, but it's also collaborative.
Yeah,
it's both. That's filmmaking. Like you just like busting your ass by yourself, but then also working and talking with people, which is the part that I loved. Like breaking story. Like, oh, I love that shit. So I went to while I was going to college down in San Diego, after not having done improv for like a year or two. The college team at the National Comedy Theater is where I met most of Count Gumdrop, and a bunch of people who moved up to LA with me around the same time, kind of different times. Great people. I've known them for years. Dated one of them. Great people. They're great. Great people. So after doing improv,
are they still going as a team? And you backed out?
They're still doing improv in different things.
Yeah.
On different things. It wasn't just the team was like, let's all do other stuff, and then some of them do improv in different places and everything. I like to draw hands. What else? So, to answer the question,
just imagine the people listening to the podcast.
Every time I have a weird non sequitur, it's because I am reading a chat room.
Yeah.
Here's a story for how I made a girl cry.
Good.
Kindergarten.
That far back.
Kindergarten.
Stuck with you.
Look, once you hear this story, you're going to be like, that makes a lot of sense for Hector. That makes a lot of sense. Although, what was it, like a year and a half, 2 years of us being real pathetic pieces of shit? Check this out. It's kindergarten. My first crush was a girl named Marissa. I just remember she was very, very, very pale. She had wavy brown hair. She liked cats. And her and her best friend Caitlin liked cats. And they would run around this little schoolyard and pretend they were cats. And I thought she was the bee's knees. And I loved cartoons. So I decided I'm going to impress her with my impression of Daffy Duck, which I thought was pretty good. For a 5-year-old, it was pretty fucking good. So I went up to her, one of the first times I talked to her, "Hey, Marissa, you're despicable." And then she started crying, and she ran away. She started crying. And I'm 5 years old, and I didn't know what to do. So I just, turned around and, got on the slide. I was like, what? And then, was just, until Mrs. Schubert, she wasn't even my teacher. My teacher was Mrs. Morgan.
Didn't you hate that? I remember that feeling
another
so
fucking
well.
Teacher
when another teacher has the nerve.
Hey, come here, Hector.
The nerve.
Hector.
You're like, who's this bitch?
And I'm
What's she
just
doing? What's she
I'm
doing?
5 and I don't know you. Why are you talking to me? And so I went over to Mrs. Schubert. She was so mean, and I'm sure she was a nice lady, but she was that moment of of an adult being like, "I've never talked to you, but can you come here?" And you're just like, "Oh, what the fuck? No." Walked over there. Fucking Schubert, man. Fucking Schubert. I'm sure she's a nice lady. You know, it'd be messed up if she was dead or something right now. I feel like I did the research and was like, "Oh, she passed away."
You guys want to find her on Facebook?
Don't do that. I don't remember her first name. She called me over and she goes, Did you say a mean thing to Marissa here? Did you say a thing to her?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "What did you say?" I was like, I said, "You're despicable, like Daffy Duck." I defended myself. And she goes, "Do you know what that word means?" And I remember thinking in my head, no, I don't fucking know. I'm fucking 5. I remember thinking in my head, I'm too young.
Why do you expect this from me?
I remember thinking in my head,
what's this pressure?
How do you not know this is Daffy Duck? I'm allowed to like Daffy Duck. I'm 5. What did I do wrong? How do you not know, Mrs. Schubert? How do you not understand, Marissa, that this is a Daffy Duck impression? It's the same as doing Goofy and saying "gosh" or whatever. How do you not know? So I remember being like, "No, I don't know what it means." She goes, "Well, it's a very mean thing." And I was like, "I'm sorry." And she's like, "Okay." And then I forget what happened. But that basically set me on the path of me and girls aren't going to work right off the bat. Just a nice 10, 15 years before it's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I'll have a girlfriend." First grade, my friends were running around and kissing and and I'm just like, no. Yeah. Second grade, third grade, fourth grade, that set me on the path. So anytime I've had so many great awkward Peter Parker moments is what I call them. I call them Peter Parker moments. Remember that scene in the first movie where Kirsten Dunst and her friend go like this, and Tobey Maguire's like he does that, and then it's like a dude behind him or something, and one of the girls acknowledges it or not, but they're just kind of like, "Okay, why'd you?" And he was like, "Oh, sorry." Essentially, the same thing happened to me. I remember in high school, I was walking to school in the morning because I lived nearby, and there was a girl who I thought was really pretty walking in front of me, and she was with a friend of mine. I think her name was Tyrese, but that's also the name.
How
of
many people were were there a lot of people in your schools?
My graduating class had 3,000 kids.
Oh wow, Jesus Christ!
There was a lot of kids in my school, but I knew her. I knew of her. She may have known my name. The girl that I liked, the girl that she was next to, they were walking. And when she caught up with her friend turned and saw me and was like, "Oh, hi, Hector," because we were friends. I think her name was Tyrese. And I'm like, hey, Tyrese. And as they turned around and started walking, they were a couple feet in front of me. And I'm walking with my backpack, and I'm like, all right, here's an opportunity. I can go talk to, that's my in. That's my friend. I know her. We're friendly. She knows this girl who I think is very beautiful. I can talk to her. She knows this woman. I can make a move or just start a conversation. And as I open my mouth to go "How's it going, guys? How you doing?" Something like that long, a bus drove by and just went, like a school bus. As I'm like that happened. And when my mouth closed, I just went, oh, great. That's a Peter Parker moment. And then like we were at school. Like fate would intervene and be like, no, you're a nerd. No. And that time with the gum in my hair, I was talking to who would become my first girlfriend. And somebody went and like put gum in my hair. And I was like, what? And I had to go to my like newspaper class and like had to have this poor girl like cut my gum out of my hair. And I'm just like, Parker Luck, what can you do? I don't know how to talk to women. I'm an idiot, but it doesn't matter. I know how to. That's fine. I do all right.
Man, you're bringing back some weird memories that I've suppressed.
I'm sorry, man.
I've done a really good job of suppressing a lot of my bad memories of. I had a really terrible like junior high school. I've tried to push as much. I had so many bad things.
I didn't mean to bring that up.
No, it's fine. It's fine because I just started thinking, I was like, oh shit, I'm just gonna forget. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, it just didn't even happen. It's just whatever. Mm-hmm. Girls, mm-hmm. and my class is only like 30 people, so you fucking know everybody. And they decide real quick.
When it doesn't happen, it really doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. And when it does, everyone ends up sleeping with each other, and STDs get passed around those high schools really fast. So in some ways, I was pretty lucky.
Yeah, man.
I was pretty lucky.
Yeah, Galactic Sean in the chat said, God was keeping Hector a virgin. No, God was keeping me safe until I was ready. And then it was great. It was a great little awkward first, relationship. But
I had a girl I was dating in junior high because she was a year younger than me, so she said okay. Mm-hmm. And we were at a basketball game, and this older kid started picking on me, and my always defense with that stuff when I was younger was to just completely ignore. Just completely, I was too small, I was so lightweight, I was so tiny, and I was just like, I can take a beating, so I'm just gonna ignore, not give them the satisfaction of acknowledging, whatever.
It's actually a great strategy.
Got beat up a lot, didn't really work, but I thought I'm not gonna give them the satisfaction. I convinced myself of that. I tried a couple times smiling, thinking like if I smile at them, they'll know that they can't hurt me. That didn't work either. That was something my dad told me once. He's like, if you're getting the shit kicked out of you, you can at least smile at them and let them know there's nothing they can do to fuck with you.
It's a badass thing.
And I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. I'll try that a couple times. Nope, they just punch harder. And it gets worse.
You like that?
Yeah. You think this shit's funny?
Yeah.
No. But this girl in junior high, she ended up, she beat the guy up and like stepped in. And that made things really bad for me because it's like such a machoistic kind of thing,
Brutal.
And then she even broke up with me because she had to stand up for me. And she's like, it's making me look bad. I don't like this. And she started teasing. So later it became like her teasing me too after breaking up with me.
Jesus.
And then it was just all downhill. Like I was the guy that other girls would dare to have another girl when they were having a sleepover call and pretend to be interested, and then you'd start hearing other girls.
I got a couple of those.
You'd start hearing other girls on the line and stuff, and you're just like, oh, I see what this is.
Somebody pranked me once.
This is, never mind, I guess.
Somebody pranked me, Zach. Called my mom. It was the middle of the afternoon. It was like 4 p.m. Called my house. My mom picks up. My mom gives it to me thinking it's one of my friends. I answer she goes, I think it's one of your friends. I think they said they're Disney. And I was like, what? And so I picked up the phone. I'm like, hello? And they're like, hi, is this Hector Navarro? I'm like, yeah. And they go like, this is this is Disney. Like Disney, we want to give you a job or like an internship or something, like an animation something. But they didn't use any of the correct terms. So immediately I'm like, this is a jackass that's trying to fuck with me. And it didn't sound like any of my friends. So I'm like, this is like a bully who's like, I'm going to get him so good by calling him and making him think that he's got a sweet Disney job. But he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, and I saw right through it. Even my mom saw through it. That I'm just like, he came off as an idiot.
I had a group of older. They were seniors. I was in 10th grade. They pulled a prank call once that was real bad, and it really upset me because I didn't have the best relationship with my parents when I was younger either. They didn't get me. The people around didn't get me. So there was a lot of disconnect there. They didn't understand why I wasn't like as book smart as my brothers, and they didn't seem to understand my creativity and my like hyperactive brain. and there was a lot of disconnect there from understanding. And they I think they know now, but maybe, I don't know. For the longest time, they swore that I was like a drug addict. I've never touched a drug in my life. I don't even drink alcohol. They swore that I was like a pothead and like doing drugs and shit, and they just always assumed I was up to really nefarious shit.
Wow.
And I never do anything. I'm like the most straight-laced individual I've ever known.
Yeah.
I'm really boring, like for real. And we went, it was like an Easter vacation or something like that. We got back and there was a message on the answer machine, and it was somebody saying they were a police officer and that Zach needed to come down to the station with everybody. He's been up to some things that need to be discussed and best be discussed in person.
Wow.
So I get called upstairs. I was downstairs at the time. I get called upstairs and they show me the message and I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck that's about. Yeah. I have no idea. And immediately they start accusing me of crazy shit. Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this, that? And it was like 2 hours of me and I just swearing like I don't do it. I went from when I was probably 12 up to 17, I was grounded the entire time.
Wow.
My parents were very strict. No.
Oh, okay.
From everything.
Sure.
My parents were very strict. Like I said, they didn't really understand me. They've changed a lot. They've grown so much. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that took us all getting out of the house and like showing them there's a world outside. Mm-hmm. Like they didn't know there was a world outside of where we were either. Mm-hmm. And I was always grounded, and it was always for the dumbest shit, like forgetting to take out the trash or whatever. They were keeping me from ever having friends, basically. Mm-hmm. But they always assumed I was up to really bad shit, and I wasn't. Like,
So what
didn't
happened?
do anything.
Did you guys go to the police station?
Well, they were trying to get a hold of police, but it was a holiday weekend, and it was hard to get a hold of anybody. But this went on for like 2 fucking hours of just getting accused and accused and accused of all this really, really terrible shit. And I was so mad. And then Dad made me go work on he was like, yo, I'm not letting you out of my sight. I don't want you doing any more fucked up shit and all stuff. So he made me go to work with him at the boat dock to work on some boats. And as we were leaving, one of the older kids was getting ready to go back up to college. He was a freshman in college at the time. Mm-hmm. And when he saw us, he was like, you look pretty upset. Had a rough weekend. And I immediately like looked up at him. And I was like, Dad, he did it. And then at first, Dad wasn't really buying it. But then he asked if he could borrow the phone at the office down at the boat dock, and he called home to Mom, and he was like, hey, any chance you gotten a hold of that cop yet? And she was like, yeah, and he's a new cop, and in the message they used his first name, and he's only written 1 ticket since he became, this is like living out in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. He'd been a cop for 3 months. He'd only written 1 ticket. And it was this kid who was friends with that kid that was standing there.
So he was a real cop.
He was a real cop. They impersonated an officer using his name and everything. Ooh. And he's like, nobody knows my real name except I've written 1 ticket and it was to this kid. And then Dad immediately was like, looked at that kid and he was like, I'm going to kick your ass. And that kid ran off and left for college.
Jesus.
But I was so, like, they had no idea.
The damage.
Damage.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just the damage of, I'm in trouble. It was the things they accused me of. And I was like, are you fucking kidding? Like, things I wouldn't even think that another kid would do. Yeah. Kind of thing. I was like, do you really think I'm capable of this shit? They're like, I don't know. Why are the police calling us? I'm like, oh my fucking God. It took me, like, and I remember that rift that came from that. Mm-hmm. I mean, we already had a pretty big rift, but the rift that came from that lasted for years. Dang. Like years of me being so upset at the things they accused me of and me not forgiving them for that. And I was just like, no, fuck you. Like, and I'd always tell myself, like, maybe I should be a bad kid and they really know. And then I'd always be like, no, I don't like being bad. Yeah. But it was fucked up. But we did get him back. We had the,
beat the shit out of him.
No, we got his parents involved, and his parents were good sports, and we convinced him that he was going to be charged with a felony for impersonating an officer, and he ran away for 2 weeks. He thought if he crossed states he'd be safe and everything, and like ran away for a couple of weeks.
That's hilarious.
But
that's great. Good. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Good.
Fuck that guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad everyone else's families are just as fucked up, says iPodding.
Great.
That's one of the very, I don't know, I could go on and on about fucked up stories from my childhood. They're all pretty fucked up. So you came out to LA. What did you come out to LA for 3D work, like graphic stuff, not for like improv and creative,
correct?
Like acting and stuff?
I had a job. I graduated college and I had a job in San Diego that was working for a visual effects company, also doing conversion for movies, for 3D movies. And then I got laid off after working there for 2 years because they ran out of work, because it was a company in San Diego and it was tough to compete in the film industry in Los Angeles. I remember some of the movies they got down there were like, they got like Transformers, Dark of the Moon, which was the third Transformers movie, and like the biggest fucking thing that ever happened to the studio was like Michael Bay flew down, like he flew down in like a plane, and I remember thinking, oh, he couldn't spare the 2-hour drive. Like I'm like, I drive to LA all the time. It's 2 hours, bud. He had to fly. He's that busy. He like flew down to, as we were working on the movie, to like give the whole studio like a pep talk kind of a thing, and everybody was kissing his ass, and he didn't. I remember him just being not cool. He was not cool. Yeah. So when I talk shit about Michael Bay, I'm like, I've seen him in the wild, the way that he interacts with people.
Total douche.
He is like a douche, and I'm like, and I wanted to like, you know, root for him. I had been stoked that they were making a third Transformers movie because I liked the first one enough. I didn't like the second, but I was like, it's redeemable. It's redeemable. And then as we were working on the third, it was like, you know, well, I don't know if it's going to be good. And then it was fucking terrible. And the fourth one was even worse than that. And then it's, I don't know how many they're up to now. They're so bad. But after they couldn't secure certain contracts, probably is what happened. They ran out of work, and they have these like seasonal, you know, hirings and firings. And a lot of people stayed in San Diego and just kind of found other odds and ends until they hired up again. But I got lucky. I was like the 40th employee, and then at one point the company ballooned to like 200 employees. I got in where I was able to get like a good rate, coming straight out of college, and I became one of their trainers.
Interesting.
To bring on like some other people that helped hiring. And the lesson that I love from that is they tell you in college, be cool to everybody, don't be an asshole, don't be a dick, and there's a reason for it. I took a class down in San Diego, an art class, and there was this asshole guy in the class. And I don't even remember his quality of his art. I just remember him being an asshole. And it got to a point where a year or two later, I'm working at this company. Who do you think comes in? This guy comes in one of the hiring groups, and he knows me. I know him. We know of each other. He goes, hey, Hector. He thinks he has an in. And he starts schmoozing me up like, hey, man, this is a cool gig. This is a really cool, like, what's this whole, this is awesome. Well, great, man. It's so great to see you.
Yeah.
Can't wait to knock this out. I remember not even looking at his, like, work the test was like, you go in for a couple hours, do this thing, and then leave. Once you're done with the test, it's like, okay, turn this cool Iron Man image into 3D, like from the first Iron Man movie, we're crawling out of the rubble. It's like just a still. It's like, turn that into 3D after we taught you, after we gave you a tutorial, do it. I remember not even looking at it, but just going to my peers, some other guys that were in hiring, and this is like Augie worked there, like, you know, like Adam, like these are where I met these guys. I remember turning to my fellow trainers who were like me, and I was like, I know this guy from college. He might be good, but I remember him just being really combative, really combative, cannot work with people. And I was surprised that my supervisors were like, oh, okay, great, we're not going to hire him.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it works.
And I was like, what?
It's 100%.
I was like, I'm just giving my opinion. They're like, no, that's good enough. We're just not going to hire him.
Wasn't it Mel Brooks that said something like, you can't be an asshole in this industry?
Yeah.
And a lot of people get this, they hear stories about the assholes. That's like 0.5% of the industry. Mm-hmm. You don't see a lot of the industry. It's hidden from you. You see the stories in the news about the very particular few. Most people in the industry
made it into the story.
aren't there. And you can't be an asshole because word gets, it's a big industry, but it's also small. And when you do something that's fucked up, most of the time everyone's going to talk about it. They're gonna share that story with everyone else. You'll be kind of put on an internal blacklist, and you're done. You never know who might be able to hire you for another job someday.
And at the same time, no matter what you do in life, you'll never be able to be friends with and be liked by everybody and please everybody.
Oh, you can't.
You can't.
You just
so
can't.
Sometimes I'm sure that I've lost out on stuff because there were people that were like, Hector Navarro, fuck that guy, and it's like, all right, if I could have done something about that, then lesson learned. Then I feel like I had no idea. I don't have any regrets with how I've treated people so far, and I don't plan on having any regrets. So it's like, all right, you know, you can't win everybody over, but at the same time, you're right. You can't be an asshole. I was so surprised in that lesson of like my peers and my supervisors trusting me enough, because I'd been there for a while at that point, and like, you know, they're like, no, you're a good judge of character. We trust you. We're not even gonna, you know, why bother trying to. It's easier to hire somebody who's easy to work with and then teach them or train them than it is to hire somebody who's talented but a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. What was the original point? Moved to LA after I got let go. And then worked for a competitor but doing the same thing, 3D conversion. And after spending 2 additional years at that job.
Now, what year did you move up to LA?
2011. The year
so I got
Avengers
here 1 year before you. I didn't know that.
Yep. I moved here 2011 because I started working on the first Avengers movie immediatamente as soon as I moved here, which was awesome. And then, again, the reason I brought up Michael Bay, while we were working on the Avengers movie at this other company, Joss Whedon visits. And he spends the whole fucking day, and he walked around and he talked to everybody. And this is while he was in the middle of filming or post for Avengers. And he was still taking the time to do that and having conversations with people. And I'm like, well, that's night and day. Like, there's a guy who I will immediately, he's now made me a lifelong fan, unless, you know, he's an awful human being and we all find out, as sometimes happens in Hollywood. But, like, I'm like, no, Joss Whedon, this is what the guy did, and he didn't have to do that. So, cool dude.
So, and then eventually, what made you decide to leave that? Because you went from that to the working in the office for voiceover talent,
acting.
right?
A couple of different things. They moved most of their workforce to Toronto, and I got a couple of buddies. They might be in the chat tonight. They're definitely in the chat when we do Hero Clicks. Sometimes they're watching Pencils and Parsecs Friday nights. But a bunch of buddies, and they're up there right now. But they decided to move most of the workforce, and they kind of gave everybody an ultimatum. They're like, all right, you guys can move up or basically look for another job, or, you know, only a small amount of people are going to stay in LA. And I was like, it's not for me. I felt like I wanted to try other stuff that was more, you know, host improv-y centric. By that point, I had been taking classes, UCB, and I'm like getting the bug, and I'm checking out with the scene, the improv scene. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. You know, meeting people and finding all the companies that are here that I like and admire. So when we got to that point, I was like, you know what? On top of that, I didn't like the way that the company, certain people in like upper management, treated the workforce, treated us, treated the entry level people, the people that had been there for years. It felt as if parts of it were, you're just a cog in the machine. We need a face. We need you to sit at your computer. We don't care about, you know, building up a career. There's no such thing as company loyalty anymore. Those kinds of things where you just like...
And that's true in almost any, like...
industry.
Well, yeah. Gaming, animation especially. I feel like right now, the gaming industry and the animation industry are the two most under fire for these kinds of work environments because there's constant churn.
Yep.
And there's constant grind. So it's like, and for those that don't know, it's like your grind and your crunch time. You know, it's like a game goes into development, boom, hire a bunch of people, put them on like over 12-hour days, working their asses off, and everybody's push. Game comes out, does really well, fire half staff. Like
no fucking kidding. You basically summed it up perfectly.
That's the end.
There were layoffs at the company that I was at in LA, like, and you know. Like Augie got laid off like after he got his name in the Avengers, which is the craziest. It's like, Jesus Christ, you guys, like it's exactly what you described.
It's just the churn and burn, man.
It's just the churn and burn.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, cool. So I'm essentially freelance and I got to go look for another gig, and that's so tough to like settle down and make roots and start families. And there were guys that are working with that were like family guys.
Hard for people that do that kind of work. Yeah, because you know, like a good example is like, you know, Malika's looking for a job right now. There was a big layoff that happened in LA a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago. So now the entire industry's flooded with people looking. Yeah. And this happens constantly. And it's usually like bigger studios. Like it was Insomniac Games actually had a big layoff, you know, and this happens all the time. Like
Insomniac was on the campus of the job that I'm describing.
Yeah.
So I would see some of those guys.
Yeah, it's just the way it's just these
El Santo Taco says it's true.
Yeah, these industries they're very profitable, but they're also really expensive to run.
Something's going to happen.
Well, they're trying. They're trying. But I think what's going to happen is people have to accept their content taking longer to come out. Mm-hmm. And people have to accept their money being spent longer for a higher payoff. I feel like...
And then on top of all of that...
It has to move so fast. Yes. And the thing with a lot of these games and a lot of these movies, they announce freaking release dates before it's even started production.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's tied to contracts. Like with movies, sometimes it's tied to some sort of contract that if they don't make a movie by this year, they lose the rights to the property. So it's all in this cyclical kind of thing that's just like, okay, now we got to go.
That's why when I go and see something like a Marvel movie like Doctor Strange or something, I'm like, first of all, it really is so difficult to make a movie, like our guest Emily Carmichael was saying the other night on Cineverse. But like on top of all that, everything you're describing, for the schedules to line up, for these actors' schedules to line up, the production crew to pull that thing off, and then for the visual effects crew, which I know did not have enough time to pull off the visual effects that they did, and then on top of that, converted into 3D, where I know they didn't have enough time because I was doing that job. It's just like mind-blowing, and I'm just like, kudos to everybody that worked on this thing, because this thing should be a turd because of all of the steps where it could go wrong. And working in 3D, it was so depressing because I learned to love 3D, and nobody fucking gives a shit. And it's not people's fault. It's that studios didn't advertise their stuff correctly. It's that they would go to a studio that was like, well, we'll do it in a month, and then you get a crap 3D movie conversion that people remember, like Clash of the Titans, and that's all people remember. Like, that's 2011. Like, go see Ant-Man. It's fucking mind-blowing in 3D. Like,
yeah,
it's so
it is
cool.
really good.
But
that was a good one in 3D. So was Doctor Strange, too.
So being in that industry where you're seeing the industry not respect what you do, to the point where it almost sometimes even felt like the company you were working at also kind of didn't respect or tried to get out in front of it or tried to do better. They were just like, well, we're getting paid and let's keep doing what we're doing.
I mean, it sucks too, because I know game studios that respect their employees really well and are great to be there, but still have to go through the churn and burn because you never know if it's going to sell. So you put a lot in the front end, you hope it does well, and then once it comes out, I mean, there's 200% more games on Steam this year than there were a year ago. So it's like game companies are in a highly competitive state. I could say 100% the same thing about Twitch now.
Sure.
When we started on Twitch 2 years ago, having a random person show up in your chat room and start saying, hey, what's going on, was way, way more likely. Way more likely. Now there's so many people streaming that the amount of people, it's just there's so much being done everywhere. There's so many things that are happening that the chances of it working are far lower. So lots of games are coming out, lots of people need that work, but then the game comes out, it doesn't work very well. Same thing happens with movies, with animation. They'll put a lot of money into the front end, and if it doesn't make a certain amount back, they just have to
There's a documentary coming out about it. Augie, if you're still in the chat, if you want to find it and throw the link up, it's for, I think T-Fruit sent me the link. It's a documentary about the post visual effects industry specifically, but it applies to what so many aspects of the industry are right now, and it's brutal, and it's about, it feels like it's about certain people saving, we're going to save X amount of dollars by moving everything to India. It's like, fuck, man. Well, then you're not going to get quality work because the artists who are innovating are here in the United States.
And then sometimes those companies in India take that job and then they outsource it to South Korea or to another
immensely
country.
Talented people in these other countries, immensely talented people, but they don't have the same resources. They don't have the same training, and when they'll have even less time to work on a shot. So then when you get it kicked back, a lot of times I hear, like, during reviews, it's like, well, it's a shot from Pune. Well, it's a shot from India. Like, what can you expect? It's like, give them more time. Give them more notes. That is burger time. That's right. It's burger time in the back. I got the top 4 scores. Anyway, it was depressing. And then on top of all of that, a thing happened in 2012. I was working on 2 movies at the same time. And when I say I was working on a movie, it was like, I'm one of hundreds of artists that are touching a couple of shots. Avengers, I got dozens of shots, which is cool, but we got in Iron Man 3, Star Trek Into Darkness. In Iron Man 3, we get these movies and they would be silent. We don't have the sound. So Iron Man 3, we're working on shots, we're doing conversion, and I'm #1 Marvel fan. Like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, the Mandarin's in this, Ben Kingsley. All of a sudden,
Malika's in that?
Malika's in that as an extra? What part? During when Tony flew down?
Wait, you don't know?
What part?
Oh, God.
The Mandarin scenes, when he, walks in, there's 2 girls walking in front of him. It's me. When he, stood on his robe.
God damn it.
I'm like...
God damn it.
His robe. There was a lot of other stuff in the making of the movie, he, sits down in, a lazy boy recliner and goes like this, and I'm the girl that's giving him a soda. I'm just one of
Deleted scene? Is it a deleted scene?
Yeah.
I got the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. I'll look for those deleted scenes.
I'm also in the scene where I'm waving at the camera and blowing kisses. It was very awkward.
So,
I love it.
For those that are listening to the podcast, if you haven't heard the Malika story,
she's
believe it or not, she's in Iron Man 3.
She's in Iron Man 3, you guys. That's so cool.
I don't know if we can talk about it, but that movie changed a lot.
Sure it did.
But like,
yeah.
The Mandarin was not.
You need to come closer if you're going to talk. This is mostly for audio.
Mm-hmm. So Malika's saying that the Mandarin was not fake, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
But you've seen some of this stuff, right?
Sure.
So like, there was, I guess it was. Hello there. I just ate an Oreo cookie. I hope I smell like one. So, I think Christmas was a way bigger theme
I
in
may
the
have
movie.
converted you into 3D. I may have converted you into 3D. I may know people that have made you 3D.
Oh my goodness.
So Shane Black, so there's more Christmas.
But it was like way more Christmassy. Like there was certain scenes where like the costume people would fight about like what I should be wearing, if it was like Christmas or not.
Interesting.
And, like,
there was an entire we may have gotten
like,
that stuff.
There was like a lot of shit that was like cut out.
There was an
It a
entire
different
flashback,
movie.
Zach, with young Tony and Tony Stark's mom, and they had a scene where. And it was the cheesiest shit ever. They had a scene where she was leaving because she was like fighting and crying with her dad, which I think they got the same guy who played him in Iron Man 2 to come back. The John Slattery, I think, from Mad Men.
Yeah.
But he maybe had brown hair. It was supposed to be like the 70s or 80s. And the mom was like leaving in a car out of the driveway, and she was like really upset. And then Tony was out in the yard playing, and it was at nighttime. And he came up to her and he did this to her. Except there were fireflies that came out of his hand like he was holding fireflies, but it looked like an Iron Man thing. Whole thing was cut from the movie, like whole sections,
and then also, what's his name, Guy Pearce? There were scenes with the Mandarin pushing him around. Because I remember Ben Kingsley was like practicing his lines like, what's taking so long? You know, and he was saying that to Guy, which was totally cut.
Doesn't surprise me.
As well, where it ended up Guy Pearce being kind of the real bad guy.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't know if it was the other way around or if there was more trickery.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, there was
like,
a lot of stuff that was cut.
The same thing happened for the first Captain America movie when I was working at that company. I got there right as they were wrapping up, but they were like, this movie changed. We got so much footage. We got enough footage for 4 of these movies, 4 different Captain America movies, and it changed so much that as they were working on it, when it first started, they're like, we don't know if this is going to be good. And by the end edit, they were like, but when the time the movie came out, they're like, this ended up pretty okay. Like, they described that so many different things changed.
Well, the first Iron Man movie was like that too.
First Iron Man movie was like that.
You'd be amazed how many of these movies that have so much money in them are
Like, I worked
halfway kind of.
On that.
They're barely put together. Again, they have
Yeah.
release dates that they have to meet, and when you're doing these kinds of like algorithmic films in a way that have a formula, the script is less important than meeting the formula, which we all probably know. We still love them. They're still fun. The scripts aren't great. And it's not a big deal for them to start shooting without a finished script because the formula is more important than the script.
And they have to start working on these massive effects sequences.
Yeah.
Like the thing where Iron Man saved people out of a plane was conceived, like, I'm sure before the cameras even started, they had previs, and they were like, we got to start working on the CG. Because they knew that the thing was going to be nuts. You know, we got to start working on the stunt work and the teamwork and all that stuff. So working on that movie in post-production and seeing it change silently was cool to me. And when I saw the first footage of Ben Kingsley acting, ole, 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 like acting not as a Mandarin, I was like, this is brilliant. I think this is going to flip people's lids and people are going to dig this.
Subscriber.
And at the same
Hey,
time,
thank you for subscribing.
We'll
We'll dance at the end of the show.
At the same time,
We're gonna get so worn out. We've had a couple tonight.
That's okay. 2 dances is fine.
No, that's more than
I
2.
got footage from Star Trek Into Darkness, and I'm a huge Trekkie.
Yeah.
And footage was coming in of Benedict Cumberbatch, and the rumors are like, is he Khan? Is he playing Khan? And I'm a huge Trekkie, and I know everything about Khan. He's my favorite character. And we're getting the scenes in, and I got confirmation that he was Khan. And this was months and months and months before the movie came out. This was like a year before the movie came out. And I'm asking my supervisors who are actually going to see like sequences with audio so that they know what's happening in the movie so that they can relay it to us. I'm like, is he doing a Spanish accent? And my supervisor boss is like, I don't think, because he doesn't fucking know Star Trek. He doesn't give a shit about Khan and the continuity of keeping him Ricardo Montalban because he would have gone under Frozen before the Nero ship changed. Like, it doesn't matter. I got so disappointed by that's when I decided I don't want to work in post-production. I would rather work in pre-production. So the closest I could get to working in pre-production was working at a voice acting agency where I had the opportunity sometimes to give in my 2 cents for who would be a good voice actor to cast in a certain role, whether it was for animation, video games, whatever. And my role and I got that job because they represented Kevin Conroy, voice of Batman, for 20 years.
You get to go to like a con with Conroy and stuff too, right?
That was an incredible experience. That was awesome. I got to see him interact with fans, and he's a great guy. Great guy.
We need to get him on Indomitable, dude.
He's bi-coastal, super busy, but we might be able to, let's see what we can do. But yeah, Kevin Conroy is awesome, man. He's just the sweetest guy. He was Robin Williams' roommate in college in New York. And Robin was coked out and crazy. And he's got stories about Robin Williams would just steal the cheese. He would steal my cheese. And I'm like, Kevin, this is amazing. I told him, and he's like, no, it wasn't me. And I was just like, Robin, you took the cheese. I wrote a cover letter explaining why Kevin Conroy was so important to me. And the people who worked with this agency were like, oh, you watch these cartoons in your free time? You should work here. Like, because they're like, that's amazing. Yeah, cool. We love our jobs, but you actually fucking watch these cartoons. You would be doing this in your free time. You know about these characters. And because I'm such a comic guy, we would get roles from like the new Marvel Avengers Assemble cartoon. Mm-hmm. We're casting the role of Winter Soldier. And my boss would be like, Hector, do you know what Winter Soldier is? And I'd be like, I know everything about Winter Soldier. I'll be right in. And then I would be like, here's who I think would be good for it. Boom, 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 boom. This is what the role is. This is what the character's like. He's like Robin from Batman. He's like this. He's kind of like Captain America. Oh, okay. Then this is the. And that was closer to pre-production.
Right.
Because it's like helping to like.
It's a very powerful role, actually.
It can be. Casting. Much more about casting. We didn't even do casting. All we did was represent certain actors who we would then pitch to casting. You know what I'm saying? That is as close as we got to casting. Was like, here's 20 people who we think would be good. Hopefully you'll pick one. And these casting people are getting 20 people from each agency, voice actors. So, yeah, I learned so much about it. It's so damn underrated. Casting can make or break a film, man.
I remember the moment you decided to quit the agency. And it was right around the time we just started doing the Twitch stuff at GNS. And you decided you were going to go full-blown
scary
host mode. Like, what was that like, deciding to give up full-time, steady
health insurance,
and and take that dive? You know, because I will say this: out of most of the people I've worked with, you've been the absolute best at capitalizing on what's in front of you and going for it.
Thanks.
And when I first met you, that was something you hadn't decided you were going to do yet.
I know.
And it was really cool to see you say, okay, I'm going to do this thing now. And then every opportunity that came up, watch you go for it. And then I got to watch you almost go too far with it and do that thing where you're like, no, I'm going to keep going. 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 I'm going to keep going.
I'm like,
and I'd be like, dude, are you okay?
I work too hard. Where's my money? Can I have 4 beers? That's every day. Those are the 3 things I say. I work too hard. Where's my money? Give me my money, bitch.
But what was that?
Can I have 4 beers?
What was that?
You need to relax.
What was that switch like though? Like deciding.
Yeah, scary and cool and fun.
Because it took a little bit. Like that's what people usually don't realize. Like it happened for you way faster than most.
For sure.
But that's because you took it. You took it. But
I think what helped was that I went from visual effects industry to a completely 180 different industry, working in voice acting, and that helped me get over the fear of what am I doing with my life? What am I doing if I quit this thing to go pursue this thing? Is it smart? Is it safe? Am I going to be okay? To disappoint my parents? Am I going to make enough money?
Hold on. We're getting some interference on my mic. Sorry, everybody. I heard it on the headphones in the other room.
Aliens?
I am sorry. I'm just going to set this on the table.
Stop touching the mic.
Was it me screaming too loud?
No. It was that there was interference that hit.
R.I.P.
Sorry.
ears. Okay, we'll give it a second.
Now Lucas has to go through this entire audio file to find that one thing and cut it out of the podcast.
No, you can leave it in. I don't care.
Anyway, Continue. Sorry.
That's a great question. Hang on. J. Roby 1970 asks, Hector, you said improv is like a drug. Does your on-screen work satisfied, or do you still itch for that improv fix? Both. Doing on-screen stuff, depending on what I'm doing, especially RPGs, live programming is improv. And I know we've had so many conversations about this, whatever company we were at, that like maybe that company would be like, we got to get YouTubers. And we were like, listen, improvisers is the way to go. We and my amazing, way more funnier than I will ever be, people that I've done improv with are good on their feet. They know how to listen. Mm-hmm. They know how to read non-verbal visual cues. They know how to collaborate. They know how to find the funny. The improvisers is the way to go. So doing this stuff satisfies a part of it, but there's also nothing better than audience laughing.
Immediate feedback.
Feedback, because it's also lame to be like, this funny thing,
30 seconds,
and then wait. And I've seen people do it. I've done it, and you wait.
No, you guys, when we first started, you guys used to piss me off so much because you were all so bad at that. You were used to the immediacy.
Yeah.
And you guys would make your jokes and then.
Mm-hmm. Like while somebody's talking to us, and we're like, yeah, sure, hang on. I want to check.
Oh, yeah, they got it.
They got it, yeah.
It's so fucking annoying.
YouTubers can edit their stuff. That's right. R Green Paradox. Exactly. R Green. Oh, is that an R Green that I know? That would be cool if it was. What's up, R Green? What was it? What were we talking about?
You were talking about the jump. The jump from...
To go from one industry to another made me feel better about going from that industry to another. And also, I'm always trying to maintain the perspective of, I'm not married and I don't have kids. And the only person I really have to worry about myself right now is myself, which is like, take some risks, fuck up a lot, figure stuff out. You're not even 30 yet. I'm 29. I'm going to turn 30 this year. Stan Lee created Spider-Man when he was like 34 or something. 37, something like that.
Fucking shit.
Right? Something like that. Like 34.
Thank you.
Like,
I needed that. I needed to hear that.
Saying.
Most of the time I hear, when this guy
perspective.
was 23,
I'm
like, oh.
It's all about that perspective. So, that was also cool. And
Don't read that one. Let's keep the story. Keep the story.
I want to. Firewolf says, at first I didn't like Hector. I thought he was an arrogant asshole. But then it hit me. He's a typical jester who mocks the king and keeps people real while getting made fun of. He is the glue that holds most shows together. I now respect him. Thank you so much. That's great.
I like it though because I know you only caught that whole comment because you saw Hector and asshole scan together and you're watching your eyes like, oh wait,
I get that all the time. I get again. We were talking about this beforehand. I get that all the time of like, I used to hate Hector. He used to be a fucking asshole, but now I think he's cool. It's only because I've been around. It's only because I've been doing this stuff for a long time, and you just have to have strong opinions and just be around, and eventually you'll win people over.
I don't know. I feel like for me it goes the other way.
For you it goes the other way?
Yeah.
People like you less and less? Yeah. But no, I appreciate that. And
like I keep waiting for something redeeming.
That comment was probably correct. I am self-deprecating. I'm the jester. I'm trying to be the mother hen, the den mother. I'm trying to be somebody who's making sure that everybody's having a good time. And not taking the thing too seriously. And if I see tension, I try to ease it. But also in the world of improv, there could also be tension where a performer is steamrolling and they're not even aware of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking over and I'm seeing this person is like trying to say something, or they feel this, and I'm like, what do you think about that? Like there's also that balancing act of just trying to read the room and reading people. But you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think it was. Was it J. Roby? Whatever. Thank you so much for the comment. Appreciate it.
So getting back to
the jump,
going from your job of being in an office kind of situation to then full-time hosting.
Look, man, it's a great gig, but it can also be soul-sucking. And at one point, just like most office jobs can be, 9 to 5, 9 to 6. And at one point, I realized I don't think I want to be an agent that represents actors. That's a lot of people are perfectly suited for that. They're super fucking good at it. My bosses were awesome. They're great people. But there was a thing of like, do you want us to start training you to do this? And if I kept going,
you're in.
I could have been an agent who represented my own actors and within a couple of years worked at an agency and been like a junior agent or then an agent and then maybe started my own, like could have done all that. But I decided this is something I also don't want to do. It's not for me. So I was there for like 2 years or something, and gave my 2 weeks, and I'm like, and before I did give my 2 weeks, I told them about things that I went to go like audition for, which was not like, it was cool because they became friends of mine and I respected them, and I think they respected me. So when an opportunity came up, they're like, oh, there's this gig where you can audition to do this thing for DC Comics. This was like years ago. It was like a different gig. And now I'm working for them, which is really cool. But a thing came up. They're like, we need you to come in and audition for this thing, Hector. And I'm going, I got a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
I can't, what do you want me to do? And it just so happened that there was like a national holiday or state holiday, federal holiday, something where like we had a Monday off. So like that Monday I took my day off and went and auditioned. And I didn't get it, but I remember telling my bosses, like, hey guys, just a heads up, I'm going to go on audition for this thing. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm giving you guys like full disclosure. I may get a job offer, and I'm going to weigh my options. And if it's something that I think I could be good at and is cool, and I'm in a position in my life to take it, I might take it, but I love you guys. I want you to know. And because of that, they were kind of like, okay, cool. Like, just keep us in the know. And then eventually I did put in my 2 weeks of just being like, I love it here. I got to put in my 2 weeks. I'm going to go try this other thing. And that's how I left my last job. I'm going to go try this other thing. And if it doesn't work, because I'm not burning bridges. I'm not like, see you later. Bye.
Now,
there's always a thing. If it doesn't work, I'll probably come back here if you'll have me. I don't know.
What do you think? So
my work ethic changed.
Well, yeah.
My work huge.
Have you and second there's okay, well, I'm going to wait for the audience to say that it's coming back up and that it's that it's working.
Can you guys hear us?
We've been having issues
Hey, but check out our podcast.
with internet for the last 2 days. We've had issues. Okay.
It's frozen. Good. Gone again. Twitch is catching
We're
up.
back,
now.
but
It's
still
up.
choppy.
We're back, but still choppy.
Oh my God.
Thank you for the updates, guys.
I really wish we could afford fiber. It costs us $600 a month to get it. I'm
It's
like,
worth it.
you say
It's worth
that.
it.
You don't see our books.
No, I don't. Good point. All right.
We back? We back? All right, we're back. All right, we're good. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We've been having a lot of internet issues the last 2 days. Every time we have a really bad storm in LA, from what I seem to understand, the way I yelled at them last time was a couple go out and they reroute and then everything gets overloaded. So
Makes sense.
it's cool. It's great.
Makes sense.
Good
The
time.
rerouting. That makes sense.
It's a good time. We actually even have 2 lines running that we're like muxing together to try to make it more stable, and it doesn't work very well. But what I was trying to get at is when we first pitched Hyper RPG coming down to LA and told you about all the shows, you said you wanted to be on all of them. And at first we were all like, oh, that's so awesome. And I was like, okay, we like Hector and we want Hector to really enjoy being here. We were like, had an internal meeting about it, kind of like, even if he wants to do all these, we shouldn't let him.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna then start hating being here just because you're not gonna realize you're gonna be doing to yourself what we do to ourselves every day, but we don't have to be on camera as happy as you have to be every day. So
It could be hard.
yeah,
sometimes.
and what do you think drives that part of you that says yes to everything, even though you probably shouldn't? Because I feel like you say yes constantly, even when you don't have time, and it's not like a downside. It just seems like